Welcome to Embedded, the show for people who love gadgets. I'm Alicia White, back with my co-host, Christopher White. Our guest is Sophi Kravitz, electrical engineer extraordinaire.
Hi, Sophie. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi. Nice to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Your bio on Twitter or Google Plus says engineer, hacker, interactive artist, and maker. That's pretty broad. So what is it that you do?
I have a company called Mix Engineering, and under that company name, I make a living as an electronics consultant. So that's a lot of things. I do a lot of paying jobs, including electronic design work, coding. I advise a company with product design, and I have one product that I do applications and service support.
So it's just as broad what you do professionally as your description.
Pretty much, yes. I consider myself pretty lucky that I spend about 80% of my time making a living, and the other 20% of my time is spent building interactive design projects, or what I call research for interactive design projects.
Can you give me an example?
Shall we jump right into Oculus?
Sure, we got to talking before the show. So yes, the Oculus Rift, the VR headset.
Yep.
It's been out for a couple of years, but it
as a development kit. It's not a product yet.
Right. And we don't hate them even though they got bought by Facebook because we just try not to hate people. It
makes so little sense that you just don't think about it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the background.
I haven't thought about that at all. About them being bought by Facebook or otherwise.
People got so
I live in
mad.
New York, so I'm not that close.
Yeah. But you're actually doing some development with it. You're building something to use it, not just playing around watching the demos.
Chris, are you just watching demos?
Mostly. I had some ideas, but it seemed like work once I thought about it long enough.
Well, and he has a lot more work than I do right now, so he's actually working.
So you have actual work to do. You don't have the 20% time set up for research.
Well, I do have 20% time, but it's not for research. It's mostly for...
Kerbal?
Kerbal Space Program.
So I saw somebody else's project a little bit over a year ago, somebody else's project using the Oculus Rift, and they had done a remake of an arcade game called Paperboy or Paper Dude. You ride a bicycle and throw papers. Yes, it was pretty awesome when I tried it, and I was like, whoa, I want to build something like this. And so somebody from NYC Resistor, which is a hackerspace in New York City, lent me the first version. It was kind of amazing. I put it out to the group, and two people actually offered to lend me an Oculus Rift because it made them sick to their stomachs.
Yes.
So I borrowed the first one for about a month, and then I returned that, and I borrowed a second one, and I started working in Unity, which I'm not a graphics person at all, but somebody said you could build games for free in Unity. So that's...
Yeah, and Unity's .NET based, if I recall correctly. The language you end up coding in, yeah.
Yep, you end up coding in C#, or you can use JavaScript, or this other language called Boo.
Boo,
Okay.
Which I have not used, but apparently it's like Python.
I'm totally adding that to my Halloween jokes list. What language do ghosts prefer?
Boo.
Exactly. Okay. So
yeah, Unity's, I tell people when I'm trying to convince them to work in it that it's very much like Photoshop, and then you just write some things to make stuff move around.
Okay.
Photoshop with a Z axis, so you can go in and out, and then if you want to animate things, you write some scripts.
That's one of the things I've always found kind of daunting about graphics work, and what stops me from doing a lot of projects is you end up running against, you have to have some art. You have to have some objects, some things that look nice to put on the screen, and that's not my development strength. So do you just, what have you done in your work? Have you actually gotten into the art part of it?
I started making a world, and then I got lucky enough to team up with 3 artists.
Okay.
And they made the world.
Yeah.
And they made an awesome world for me to put other stuff into it. So the Oculus itself, putting it into Unity is, it's ridiculously easy. If it's the first one, the DK one, we can complain about the new one shortly. But I mean, it's pretty much just you put it in and put in a plugin and boom, you're done. It's not really, there's not much to think about. And you definitely don't need to be a developer to put Oculus into a Unity world. I added some other hardware, though, fans to simulate wind.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. That was pretty exciting for me because I couldn't find any tutorials on how to do it. So it just, I just opened a port and sent some data. Actually, the accelerometer data from my phone. I linked that up to the fan.
Okay.
Unity has a class for accelerometers and gyroscopes and cameras. There's a 4th thing, but I don't remember what that is. So it's basically like get acceleration.x, and you set your phone up and the data comes in. And from there, it's just maybe filtering it or doing some processing. But
I didn't realize they had APIs for that kind of thing in Unity.
Well, if I could just complain a little bit, they have it for edit mode. And I just found out you could actually read my whole rant on the Unity website or on their forums. It doesn't work when you build a game.
What? Why is that?
Apparently, they say so in the documentation. And as I apologized to their support people, I read what I wanted to. But I also feel like if you make a class that's called Get Accelerometer or something like that, why would I even think it wouldn't work in a game?
Yeah, what other purpose does it have?
To test the purpose of having the Android or the iPhone connect to the game is so you could test a game on a phone.
I see.
And that part I understand. But the fact that they link into the hardware, very, very easily too, it didn't occur to me. So 2 months of developing with the accelerometer from my phone, and I own a few phones now because I was testing accelerometers on the phone. And to find out that it actually doesn't work. But on the bright side, they released the source code for doing that. So I imagine I'll just start with my own accelerometer. And Alicia, I think you were very helpful with me on Skype a few weeks ago. I was kind of asking you about that.
There are many lovely accelerometers out there. You don't have to stick to your phone if you can actually work with the code.
It doesn't look super complex.
Yeah. But I'm boggled. I am actually reading your rant here.
So before we get deep into complaints about Oculus and various APIs, what is the project you're building?
Yeah. What is the overall goal?
Yeah, right. So the project, and I'll just preface that by saying I'm pretty much done with the project. I'm going to move on to a new project with all the things that I learned. But the project was where you stand on a wobble board. The phone's accelerometer is on the wobble board. And if you lean forward, you move forward in the game. Backwards, you move backwards, right and left. So you can do everything but twist. And the accelerometer is just linked to moving through the world.
Okay.
And
so it's like a segue for the Oculus Rift world? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. You can make a world with fun terrains and kind of skate up and over.
Oh, and then you put a motor underneath it so that you have to lean properly. When you're going uphill, it pushes you back.
That's a really good idea.
You also added a leap motion to this so you could see your hands. That was one of the things I found really creepy about the Oculus was there was a body, and when I moved my hands, it didn't, and I felt very possessed by demons.
So one of the artists, Takafumi Eid, he put in the leap motion. That basically, you could use your hands to knock over signs.
Okay.
To knock over signs?
Yeah, if you're moving along.
Kind of like slalom when they take down the poles. Oh, yeah, and the signs.
Yeah,
okay.
Something like that. You could just knock stuff over. I mean, keep in mind, like the four of us, we worked together for about 2 months to put this thing together. So I think we would have fleshed it out much more. I mean, if we continue working on a new project together, we would. The Leap Motion and the Oculus and the serial-based, it's like an Arduino with a custom fan driver thing, and the phone, as you can imagine, on my ultralight computer laptop, some of these things fought with each other.
Yeah.
And the Leap is really power hungry. It uses like an amp.
Yeah, when people talk about using the Leap in embedded systems, I'm like, yeah, and your processor's got to be huge, and then you still have to truck around a car battery.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's meant to be plugged into a computer.
And a wall. I mean, not just a computer.
Right. And then, Chris, if you hadn't gotten to this part yet, the DK2 only works with USB 2.0.
And this is on the Oculus. We're back to the Oculus part.
Right.
Yeah, no, I hadn't.
And then the Leap only works on USB 3.0.
It does?
Yes.
It must be a new Leap, because the one I had worked on USB 2 a while back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it came out a while ago.
Yeah, the one that I have is not new. It just has that 3.0 plug. And, you might be right. I might be just using the 3.0 originally for speed.
Yeah, I'm not... The computer I have has USB 3, but I'm pretty sure I used it with an earlier one that didn't. That in and of itself is an interesting little product, but...
Do you want to describe it for people?
Yeah, the Leap is a little tiny
He's totally
monolith
using his
brick
hands to
about
describe it.
3 inches by 1 inch or so, and you set it on your desk. And I think it has infrared cameras and possibly illumination. Mm-hmm. And it kind of detects where your hands are above that space and tries to figure out where your fingers are and their orientation. And that's basically it. And people can build user interfaces or gesture recognition using all of that. It sounds much... It's very cool, but it's another one of those things that's like, well, okay, it doesn't quite work perfectly.
It's on the edge of awesome.
Yeah. That was my experience. What was yours?
I think it falls short completely. I don't think it works well at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of awesome for those of us who like to develop with this stuff. But when you want to demo it to make an experience for someone, I really only like to work with things that really work.
Yes.
And that work consistently and don't need to be babied. I'm tired of gadgets that need my engineering skills to work.
Yeah, definitely. And I felt that way about Leap especially.
Have you used Kinect, Sophie?
I have. Not much, but I've used it, yeah.
Can you compare them? I haven't used both.
I think the Kinect works pretty well because it just really has to detect something flashing by if you're doing broad gestures.
And I do mean the Microsoft Kinect, but
Microsoft, sorry. Whereas the Leap is meant to catch fiddly finger stuff. And while it does, it has a lag. And then, of course, there's the power issue. And it gets really hot, which I don't like.
It's pretty small. I'm surprised it's not more efficient. I mean, it's not bigger than a credit card.
I think there's some bright infrared LEDs in there.
Oh, I mean, it's thick, but it's not really very big.
I found that it would work maddeningly. Like you just get it, some manipulation thing, and you'd have something in your virtual hand or what have you, and it would work, and you'd be surprised and excited, and then it would like flip out. Like your hand would flip upside down,
go inside out,
and the whole thing would fly apart, whatever you were holding. And it's like, okay, that's if I'm working this in a CAD program or something, or using it for real work, that's just not going to. You hear the screams and the obscenities from across the hall of people who are trying to use this as an actual 3D input device.
Yeah, and as a game device, to have something that people are like, oh wow, that's cool, I can see my hand in there, and then they're immediately distracted by trying to make it do something.
We're trying to force it to do something because it doesn't quite. It almost does. Sometimes.
Yes. And then they turn to me and say accusingly, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's your fault.
Right.
Yeah, and the Oculus to me is similar, although the wow factor is much higher when it works.
So it's similar in that it doesn't quite work as well as you want, but it almost does?
Yeah, but I my feeling is the software is the problem there, not the hardware, but you may disagree, Sophie.
I'm not sure what's going on, but I think, so let's, just for everyone listening, the DK1, the first development kit, I thought for the Oculus worked pretty well. I would plug it into my computer. It was immediately seen by my computer, and it worked, at least as far as integrating with whatever I put it into.
And you had that one, Christopher,
yeah,
but it made you sort of sick.
About 5 minutes, and I was ready to quit most of the time. Yeah, there were some issues with the visual design and the tracking on the Oculus DK1 that meant that your brain and your ears were disconnected a bit.
And so
I found if you practiced.
Yeah. It did get easier the more you did it, but...
And then the second generation, the DK2, came out like 8 months ago?
It's just sort of shipping in the last few months to people who ordered it.
Okay. What's different?
It has head tracking camera. So instead of just relying on gyros and accelerometers.
Let's throw money at that problem. It's in computer vision. It's a lot easier.
It can tell if you're leaning forward or back or side. And they also changed some of the display hardware so that it's low persistence, which apparently helps with motion sickness. So you're not getting a funny blur that your brain is not able to interpret. And I did find that the DK2, when it worked, and when I could get stuff to work, it was much more comfortable that way.
And you even let me wear that one, and I didn't get car sick.
Let you?
Well, it wasn't like you forced me.
No. It makes it sound like I'm hoarding it.
Well, I mean, with DK1, you were like, yeah, you'll get sick.
Oh, well, yeah.
And you were really like, don't barf on my hardware. But with the DK2, you thought it would be pretty cool, and it was pretty neat, except for the body that was mine, but not.
Oh, that was just that demo.
But I would get sick pretty quickly, but I was good for about 5 minutes. Yeah. So I think when DK3 comes out, I'll be good.
There isn't one.
Yeah, I think they're just going to go to consumer.
But you don't like DK2, Sophie. Why not?
My model has loose wires in it. So my computer, it's fine if I plug it in and I fiddle with it. And I mean, we're talking several hours of fiddling, turning the computer on, off, reinstalling drivers on, off, that kind of thing.
Wait a minute, the software reinstalling the drivers isn't going to help a loose wire.
No, because at the beginning, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so other people on the forums have had the same problem.
Well, I didn't have loose wires, and I had to reinstall stuff about 8 times. So,
okay. So, well, they say that's what the thing is to do. But what I had happened to me after I got it set up at my house, and then I moved it to a mini maker faire yesterday, and I took the night before was set up, and I couldn't get it going. Like I just plugged it back in the same way, couldn't get it to work. I did get it to work, and then someone stepped on a wire, and then it stopped working again for about an hour. So I'm debating, actually, I might return it.
Yeah, I think you should.
Well, yeah, that sounds like a manufacturing defect.
Other people have had the same manufacturing defect.
It's tough because they're producing this as a development kit. So,
right.
They're not going for super high quality necessarily. But on the other hand, that is expensive. And
if loose wire things should be the sort of thing they should fix.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, because you want your developers to be able to use your gear. Oh, that would be really infuriating.
Yeah, most of my problems with it have been software, where just it's very finicky about the display settings. It wants to run at 75 hertz, but if your monitor's not set to 75 hertz, which should have no bearing on it because it's not your monitor, it doesn't work. And it's just lots of fiddly stuff that no consumer is going to put up with.
And a lack of consistency, where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and the cause is cosmic rays.
Right. And there's nothing on their site that gives a spec. So
no, even I wouldn't either, not for dev kits like that. But
for someone like I have a computer that worked with the DK1, and now I have a tremendous lag with the DK2, and I suspect it's my graphics card, but I don't actually know. I mean, that's something I can find out. I'm going to take it to a gamer's house and test it. But another infuriating thing, and I think this is probably true, Chris, you probably had this too, is that you have to put your computer, the monitor is like extended. So it's as if you had a second monitor. And so you drag your game or whatever into the second monitor, and then you're controlling it from inside the goggles. So I'm wearing the goggles and I'm clicking my mouse around inside the goggles.
Yeah, I actually found a way around that.
Well, how?
It was an extended mode setting. Not extended, direct mode. If you, in the config software, there's a direct to Rift setting, and you can set that. And if the stars are aligned and you give the software you're opening a command line option
and your firstborn
that I think was enable DirectX 11 or force DirectX 11. I'm not kidding. No. Then it worked.
That is some serious voodoo.
So we should email offline.
I was able, after, I don't know, about 12 hours of fiddling and uninstalling and so on, I got it to run in direct mode. Although when I unplugged it and restarted it yesterday, I was not able to get it to run in direct mode ever again.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. But, I mean, as an engineer, you know how they got here, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's infuriating. On the other hand, their technology is pretty cool, but it is infuriating.
I guess I feel like if you're going to be at home and you're going to run demos and use it to look, that's fine. But if you're going to travel around and show demos, you're really, the DK2 is just really finicky.
Yeah, or you're trying to seriously build something based on this technology. And I think that should be their goal in making a development kit of this sophistication, is we want people to create experiences that they're going to build companies or products out of, and we want to give them a leg up. And if you can't do that...
Well, if they don't ever leave their desks, I mean, Sophie was just saying, if you don't plan on changing anything, then it's reasonably consistent. Yeah,
Yeah, but you want to go around...
And you certainly don't want to release development kits and have multiple versions of it and then have the second one or the third one or the next one be worse in terms of stability than the previous.
Yeah.
I feel like the DK2 is worse in terms of stability.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's actually really nice to hear somebody who's not on a forum saying that.
Yeah, we don't participate in forums.
Really?
I read them.
Actually, Chris does.
I occasionally participate in forums, but only when I'm infuriated past a maximum.
Yes, I can always tell the furious typing.
And as you know, arguing with people on the internet is extremely effective.
Well, I haven't found anyone on Oculus being...
No, not on that forum.
Other forums.
Yes. There's one forum in particular he spends a lot of time on.
What? This is not true. These are lies.
But okay, so the Oculus project and the Wobble board?
Yeah.
Wobble World
I think
board?
it only had one wobble.
It's called Wobble Wonder. That's the name of the project.
Wobble Wonder.
So I will just kind of leave this project on a positive note. All of the things that I learned, I plan to put rain into the next one.
Actual rain, water, little squirt guns.
That'll help with the loose wires.
It will.
Are you going to use solenoids to shoot the little squirt guns, or are you going to use something?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Sign me up.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty excited about the whole virtual reality thing. I'm not excited about this headset.
And the thing is that my experience with it sort of just at least said to me, this is going to work and this is going to be a big thing. They have a lot of work to do to get there, but this is a compelling enough experience that this is probably really going to happen within the next 5 years, probably, and be turned into some really, really cool things. But I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah, I think another thing that I'm certainly interested in, and I hope that this happens sooner than 5 years, is that it becomes easier to do multiplayer.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Because right now, I actually don't play video games at all, but I know people can play with each other from different houses or different locations. But everybody has their own computer, and then there's a central server. So if you're doing demos with multiplayer, you're bringing a lot of stuff around.
Right. Yeah, and Unity, I think, has some APIs for doing that, for adding on kind of networked multiplayer. But I haven't tried that.
I haven't tried it either. They have it. It's more just the lugging around of computers, like extra computers.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to figure out when my Cast AR was coming. I'm sure it's coming soon, and you guys just reminded me that it should be soon.
I am super jealous. So, Cast AR is it's also unbelievably cool. It's augmented reality, so you can see everything else around you while you're playing a game.
Oh, you have these little holographic things. I'm jazzed about that.
Should be interesting. Should be interesting to see the contrast.
So the complaint that I have about the Cast AR, which I don't even have one, although I wouldn't say no to one. Nobody has one, right? And I think as soon as they become available, I will. I did actually support the Kickstarter, though, so I just didn't buy one. Is the reflective screen that you need to use?
Yeah. Yeah, it
you
always
think that's
seems
going to
like,
be a problem? I'm painting the house in it.
Jesus.
This whole room is going to be the retroreflective stuff.
It's going to be Abed's Imaginarium or Dreamatorium.
It is totally going to be my Imaginarium.
I think it's really expensive, that stuff.
No, they use it. That's what reflective jackets are, and reflective, bike lights. That's all.
But those are all 3-inch square.
Well, yeah, but you can get them for like 50 cents.
All right, I don't know.
So I briefly looked into it, and I hope that somebody writes in or
Crush
says,
my dreams with facts.
I'm sorry, but I did try the Cast AR, and I had the same idea. I'm like, I'm going to cover a room in it, and I'm going to make all these creatures and jump around with them or something. But I think an 8x11 sheet was like $30.
8 inches by 11 inches?
Mm-hmm.
So a piece of paper?
Mm-hmm.
That's rather prohibitive if you're going to do your whole room.
So let's hope that I'm wrong and somebody contradicts that.
Well, it'll go either one of two ways. It'll become really popular, and that stuff will become even more expensive as it becomes scarce. Or somebody will pump up the volume production of it and it'll become cheaper.
According to Rust-Oleum on Amazon, there is a can of spray paint, 10 ounces for $13.
Really?
Retro-reflective spray paint?
It says, I was a little hard on that too, but yeah.
Well,
we'll see. It will be cool, but yes, the Cast AR. Sorry, I'm totally lost in my. Let me click all these tabs closed. It'll be better.
Wait, when is yours coming?
Not till next year. Yeah, when they finish them.
I don't think they've said when they're.
We did the Kickstarter, and we didn't get the early version.
Okay.
But that one has some advantages because, like you said, you can still see the world around you, so it's not going to be causing the motion sickness kinds of artifacts. I do think they had some add-on though to make it full VR.
They do, yes.
Yeah. So we'll see what that's like.
Huh, that's cool. And it also has the advantage of being a lot lighter.
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing about the Oculus is I feel like you're wearing something, a big helmet.
And then with all the wires. Although the DK2 seems to have reduced that. I didn't plug in the positional tracker. I mean, I have, and I've gotten it to work, but I haven't been demoing it.
Yeah, I found that added a lot, but it is another thing you have to place. And that's finicky too, because your position, it can lose you. So you have to be in the right spot in front of it. Yeah, it's just a lot of moving parts.
And you have to make it do the blue light, and it often doesn't do the blue light when you unplug it and plug it back in.
Software.
Damn software engineers. Okay, so that's a really cool project. And VR is someday it's just...
It's right there with Fusion.
Oh, man.
50 years.
50 years.
From every year.
You've worked on a lot of other really nifty projects. There was the training of the goldfish, which I thought about asking if you could help train my dogs. But what else has been really cool that you've worked on that you want to talk about?
Goldfish training? That would be...
Well, we could talk about that, but...
Wait, goldfish training? To like get your slippers or something?
Goldfish fetch my slippers. I don't think so. I think it would die. You can't fetch slippers with goldfish.
I don't know. Maybe it's got a little bowl that it drives around.
You think... Actually, there was one of those, and it was super cool.
That was really cool. So it does turn out that goldfish can be trained. And so that was... I work a lot with my brother, who's a neuroscientist, and he trains mice. He's a behavioral scientist. And he had me make something to help train the mice, which was basically a beam break circuit that sent a signal. So beam break sends a signal, provides reward. And then he started talking to me about doing the same thing for the goldfish. So I made that thing. And that was actually pretty interesting because an infrared LED doesn't travel very far in water. So there was a lot of experimentation with how far could we get the beam break to work. And we got about 2 inches apart. So basically the goldfish swims through the hoop, triggering a feeder, an automated feeder, and the fish gets fed. And the fish learns remarkably fast, within a few hours, that if it swims through the hoop, it will get fed. To the point where after the next second day, I'm like, all right, let's make the delay 5 hours. Okay, let's make it 8 hours. Let's make it a whole day. And then the other side thing that came out of, there were 2 goldfish, and one goldfish just waited for the other one to swim through the hoop and then ran over or swam over and ate all the food.
That's the smart goldfish.
That was the smart goldfish.
Nobel Prize winning goldfish.
So, yes. Let's talk about, or can we talk about BlueStamp Engineering?
Yes, that's the high school engineering program. I did want to ask you about that. So yeah, you are involved with doing classes, helping them show stuff?
Yes, I helped put together some projects, there are projects really that are from all around the internet. Well, let me start by saying BlueStamp Engineering is a 6-week summer program for high school students, so they are age 13 to about 18, and it's a hands-on building engineering program, and it's typically mechanical, software, or electrical engineering is what the students are interested in. So I go around to high schools all over New York and evangelize about being an engineer. I tell them about the program, but it's more fun to go there and bring some blinky things or bring the Oculus or bring whatever and tell them about how these things get made and tell them that if they go to college for this or if they learn to do this specialized skill, they can build their own Oculus or work for a company, like any kind of company, control systems or whatever they want to talk about.
I didn't understand what being an engineer was when I was definitely middle school, even into like my junior year of high school. I didn't really understand. So having somebody say, this is what I do, I build things and it's really fun, would be great. And they're in, New York, which is where you're based, Houston, Denver, and San Francisco, it looks like.
Yeah.
You mostly hang out with the New York folks, or you've been traveling around with them?
Oh, no, I don't travel around. I'm in New York only.
Still.
Although the founders, Dave and Robin, guess I've probably seen them in other cities.
Wait a minute.
I've known them for a few years.
Junior in high school is building an EKG heart rate monitor?
Exactly.
That is cool.
And what's really amazing is some of these kids have no experience in engineering to begin with.
Well, that can be good because you don't know what you can't do sometimes. And so you try it anyway, and it works.
Exactly. So last year I interviewed all of the kids to decide if they were going to be accepted into the program. And really the main thing that I was looking for was to see that they were going to be tenacious about it. Was the probability pretty high that they were going to finish a project?
Engineering does require some stubbornness.
It does. And some motivation too. Although most of them, I don't think I met any students, high school students, who are unmotivated.
And so what else do you do with them? I mean...
So I'll go to a high school and chat with them. So it's like a career day, but just me. And we'll talk about what it's like to be an engineer. They'll ask, typically, once they get going, they'll start asking a lot of questions about what kinds of projects that they might be able to work on when they get done with school. Something I hear a lot is a lot of the kids want to do things that link hard science and engineering. So they'll be like, I'm really interested in biology. How can I link that with engineering? And what BlueStamp will do is for someone like that, or if there's a group of them, they'll have speakers come in a couple times a week and they'll find someone who's a biomedical engineer who will come in and talk to the students throughout the 6 weeks.
And that gets really tricky because now you're talking about things beyond engineering. You have to at least get some working skill level in a couple of disciplines to integrate, for example, biology and, embedded systems or something like that.
But I think that's important because I mean, when I list my random things I've worked on, it's always other fields. It's like I'm applying this super cool field to embedded systems.
Sure.
And I love that. I love learning about all the other fields.
That's really important. It's just at a high school level, that
is true. At a high school level, it is a bit
the challenge is a little
That's
higher.
really cool. Yeah.
Right. But I agree with what you said, Chris, about if they don't know that this stuff is hard. So I'll talk to them as a group, and then if they decide to apply to the program, I'll talk to them individually, and that'll also be a lot of kind of teasing out of them what kind of project they want to work on, and helping them to understand that no, in 6 weeks you're not going to build a robot that can traverse sand and I don't know, do all these many things. But let's pick something that can traverse sand and maybe just do 3 out of the 7 things you just listed.
Yeah, and that's where experienced people can help, is say, this is what's feasible in your time frame. And
yeah, I mean, I will never tell someone that what they want to do isn't possible. Like, I'm definitely like, okay, yeah, you could do that, but we need to make it a little less big.
Let's just put some milestones in here.
Let's do part of that first, and then we can
finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find doing that really rewarding, and I feel like all of us engineers would find that rewarding to go and talk to young people about what we do.
Yes, when I do, it's incredibly rewarding. It reminds me all the reasons that I get through the parts that I don't enjoy as much. It just really like revitalizes my love for engineering.
Seeing someone else excited about stuff that you may have become jaded about is helpful.
Jaded, cynical, bored. Yes.
We can't, I mean, we see all this stuff all the time. Things like the Oculus Rift, to go back to that for just a second, and the Leap, you show that to a 12-year-old who's never seen anything like that before, and who cares how badly it works? They're going to be excited.
Oh, I'm looking forward to showing it to your father the next time we see him.
Yeah.
My mother just tried it on yesterday. So that was pretty cool. I mean, and then also with like something like the Oculus, talking to them about what an accelerometer is, what a gyroscope is, like really making it pretty technical. So they feel like Oculus actually puts a lot of stuff on their website that's really helpful to explain to other people how it works.
Yeah, things like that are a doorway to here are all these parts that you can make something out of. Here's what they do.
They're a doorway to spark fun and Adafruit.
Right. So 4 of the students from last summer, I ran into them at the New York City Maker Faire, actually in waiting to use my project, which was really cool. And they told me they were making a thermoelectric lighter, like a fire starter. So I haven't followed or I haven't seen what the project is. They don't have a website. But I thought it was really cool that these 4 high school students from different high schools in New York, so, I mean, from Staten Island to Manhattan can be an hour. So it's not really, like, they're not close together.
Right.
That these 4 students got together and made a sort of, I wouldn't call it a company, but a group.
Well, and they're probably doing it a better way than I've done it, which is by lighting electronics on fire by accident.
Yeah, I can make a thermoelectric fire starter really quickly. Hang on. I've got a battery over here. I'll just...
So, but all 4 of those students, when I first met them a year ago, I think only one of them really had done any building of anything before.
And now they've built this, and they're building, if not a company, then a group, and...
I mean, they're 15.
It's so cool.
It's like really, really cool. And I felt, that was maybe one of the best things for me about New York Maker Faire was seeing them.
Now, are these kids at normal public schools?
Some of them are.
Okay. I'm just curious because it seems to me, and you don't know firsthand, but a lot of reading, there's a movement to kind of standardize what the school curriculum is. Mm-hmm. And it feels like there's sort of a little bit of quashing of creative spark, and this goes against that a lot. So I was curious, were these, public school students or private school students or charter schools, but it sounds like it's a mix. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mix. Actually, BlueStamp really reaches out to make the student body, the summer student body, to be really diverse in all things.
And they do have need-based financial aid on their website pretty clearly, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, we give out quite a lot of it. So.
Yay.
Yeah, which, I think that is a really good way to remove a barrier to someone who might just be like, oh, well, I can just skate and say I don't have money to push myself this summer.
No excuses.
Yeah.
So you do that, and I believe you've said you do like 80% technical engineering sorts and 20% working on your own projects.
Yep.
And then you do that, and you write. You have a blog.
I do.
It's about quitting your day job, and you've been an evangelist for quitting the 9-to-5 for a long time. I mean, that's not, it's on Element 14 now, but you had it even before it was located there.
I did. I had a super green dot blog for about a year before it moved.
Why? Why are you trying to talk everybody out of having a job? What do you want? What kind of anarchy are you creating?
I seem to, since I stopped working full-time at one company, I seem to have met a lot of people who have pretty cool jobs at one company. So, but that hadn't been my experience before. I mean, I would go work at a company and you would only get maybe 2 weeks of vacation and usually split up 1 week and 1 week, or that was my experience at, let's say, 7 companies in 6 years, something like that. Everybody who is older and more experienced was mad. So there wasn't a joyful feeling. I'm a very joyful person, so that pissed everybody off. So overall, although I made a lot of good friends and connections from all of my regular jobs, I don't think I ever really had a great experience. And I think that having a job that you are doing just for the money really does kill your creativity.
Boy, am I glad I started at HP.
Really?
Well, yeah, I mean, my first job
I was just thinking, this sounds familiar.
wasn't that great, but I did get pushed over to the labs in the bioscience pretty quickly. And that was something that was incredibly satisfying. And I met people I liked and people who loved their jobs and had loved their jobs for 20 years.
That's great.
And so I since then I've met plenty of people who are just picking up the paychecks. And maybe they're puzzled and amused for a few hours a week, but overall the average is just phoning it in. And I don't like to work with those people.
Well, and from my experience, which I kind of feel is similar to Sophie's, but I do remember there were periods of, say, 3 to 6 months at each of the full-time jobs I worked, which were really cool.
The honeymoon?
It was either the beginning of a startup or the beginning of a product, something like that, where everybody's working together on a common goal. There's a design, there's stuff going on, not a lot of overhead because we haven't shipped anything yet, that kind of thing. So, it was where the real work was getting done. But after that, man, when stuff dropped off after this product shipped, or you're working on the second version, or you're just in maintenance, it's a nightmare. And the couple of jobs I worked, that was all it was from the start. And that, yeah, I totally agree that it's not a way to encourage your creative instincts.
No. And being bored every day. I mean, I at some point I just thought, if this is what being an engineer is, I'm actually not going to do this anymore.
Well, then you didn't start out as an engineer straight out of college. You were an English major.
I got a degree in English, yes, and then about 7 years later, I got an electrical engineering degree.
That's not a normal path.
No, that's a little twisty.
That's great. But, how did that come about?
I was actually doing a sculpture degree, but my parents wanted me to have an English. They wanted something different, so it was pretty easy to get an English degree from cobbling together all the classes.
They thought you should get something that you could market.
Actually, they wanted me to go into science, but I was very resistant.
Well,
I worked in movies and television as a special effects person, custom props, like fabricator.
Okay, that's cool.
A severed hand that I might have seen on TV might have been sculpted by you.
Might have been, yes. I made a lot of severed hands.
Not everybody gets to say that.
I also got to make a lot of animatronics.
Well, no, I want to back to that. I mean, the animatronics is really cool, and we should talk about that. But I've made a lot of severed hands and have never been, incarcerated for long periods. Is probably
as long as they start out severed, I think it's okay.
Right.
And so, and then you went into animatronics before or after you got the electrical engineering degree?
Before.
Okay, so this explains.
Right. And then I thought I would like to make my own receivers and transmitters And like the high school students, I didn't know it was hard because I hadn't ever met anything that was hard because I had never taken any science or math classes. So I just had no idea. I was like, oh, well, I'm using all these things off the shelf. Maybe I would like to make my own. So I'll just go to school for that.
Did you retain the it's not hard, or did you like sit through freshman physics and get whapped upside the head with equations that were just impenetrable?
I can say that getting that degree is the hardest thing I have ever done in my life.
And there you have it. Electrical engineers are smarter than English majors.
Wait, what? That's impossible. She's both. She can't be smarter than herself.
Right.
Okay, electrical engineering is harder than English.
Electrical engineering is just hard.
Yes.
And here and there, I'll meet someone who's right out of school who's like, oh, that was super easy. I'm like, really?
Yeah, we knew some of those folks.
Yeah. But where are they now? They don't have a podcast.
That's because they're too busy buying yachts or something.
You were hacker in residence at SparkFun, and that was post-EE degree.
That was just last year.
Right. I should have put that in my notes. What was that like? You went to Colorado, hung out with them, and got to take whatever off the shelves you wanted? Because how did you get that gig?
It's not thief in residence.
Are you sure?
It's not.
Really?
Although they were awfully nice to me. They did give me a lot of things. I was in the second hacker in residence. And by the time I left, they actually have a formal program. So I highly recommend the program. People should apply. You choose a project, you propose it, and they bring you there for, I think they're saying, 2 to 4 weeks. I went for 2 weeks. I would do it again. I went out there to evaluate the NeuroSky Mindwave brainwave headset.
That sounds like another one of those things.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, I built a board that just basically had a Bluetooth module on it, like homebrew Arduino with the Bluetooth, and someone there who is a lead developer at Scratch. He helped to write the software to parse all the data coming out of the headset, and we determined that the headset is really a lot of BS.
And how long? No. Sadly, the Hacker in Residence program is discontinued, so there's no need for future applications. That is.
I wonder why.
Yes, well, maybe I will talk to SparkFun and get them to come on the show, give us some coupons, and explain themselves.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll want
they
to come
also
on the show.
just moved to a big building.
Yes.
So that might be why.
They have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And they did get that bus that they drive around, so there might be some conflict.
They got a bus that they're education bus?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And for a while you could ask for the bus to come to your school and all that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that, but it was pretty neat.
Yeah. SparkFun remains one of my favorite places.
If SparkFun and or Adafruit had Amazon Prime shipping, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
That is true. Yeah.
I don't think there's any danger of that.
I'm kind of surprised that somebody, I don't know.
Well, they're probably not interested in losing money as much as Amazon is.
Well, at least DigiKey should offer some sort of Prime shipping.
I think that Adafruit offers free shipping. I think both of them do. Adafruit and SparkFun offer free shipping for orders over a certain amount.
Yeah, for SparkFun it's $75, but I think for Adafruit it's even more. Which explains why I got that LCD I was talking about, Christopher. Sorry.
You just had to, because otherwise shipping would have cost $3. So it made sense to buy a $70 display.
Well, they had $5 in batteries, so yeah.
Yeah, if I need something pretty fat, I mean, Adafruit is right in New York, but at this point, I'm choosing the company that I buy from based on where I get the tutorial from.
And that seems fair. I mean,
Right.
you do some writing, and I definitely am using these tutorials. So if I get it from SparkFun or Adafruit, that is where I tend to buy that piece.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's a non-choosy way to choose.
Well, and they do, while they have a lot of overlap, they actually have not as much overlap as it might seem. I mean, SparkFun has the accelerometer I wanted, but Adafruit had it in a 5-volt tolerant package. So, yeah, you have to choose.
Yeah. And I've only recently, since I went to SparkFun, I was really just rolling all my own boards, doing everything from scratch. And then when I went to SparkFun, I was like, oh, you guys have wires with that, like, just hook in really easily. You know, those jumper wires? I'd never used those before.
Really?
Yeah. Well, no, I own tons of them now.
I think maybe because I'm a software engineer who's always been a little hesitant doing much with the hardware. And I can't roll my own boards. I actually don't really know how to make a board until I take Chris's class. But
You're teaching a class?
no, Chris Gamel's Contextual Electronics. I keep meaning to watch the videos. Any day now.
You should just take the class.
I actually want to take his class too, because I think there's something I can learn about layout.
Yeah, there's a lot I could learn about layout.
Because
yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot.
All of it.
Well, I mean, you know a little bit. You know what the word means.
I do, and I know a few people I can contract to do it for me.
Why do you need to learn it?
And I know that one's really good at RF, and this one's really good at making miniature things with lots of layers. And yeah, I'm so in the buy it mode.
But I would know how to do things if you just know people who do.
It gets expensive.
My husband does all my mechanical work, all the mechanical design and layout and everything.
That'd be cool.
I'm sorry we're in the same field.
Maybe my Chris should take Chris Gamel's class. It'd be so much easier for me.
Sure. I'll just go get an electrical engineering degree so I can do your electrical work for you.
Oh, back to Sophie. What are you doing? Is there a project you can tell us about you're working on lately? Are you starting something new after kind of finishing Wobble?
I think what I can tell you. Work-wise, I just finished a project with I'll just talk about it quickly, Nordic RF chip, system on a chip. I never used one of those before. Has a Bluetooth low energy and a microprocessor all in this little tiny package with a bunch of passives. It's kind of amazing. So
and shout out to Jen.
Yes, shout out to Jen.
Yeah.
Because she answered like 7 emails of mine. I mean, I was given a very short period of time to make this thing work. And I was like, oh my God, I barely even know what Bluetooth low energy is. And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll give you the stack.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't quite work. You know, I still have to set it up and the whole attributes and the blah.
But again, I didn't know anything about it, so I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
And luckily, Jen answered all of my emails. And yeah. I think next up, what I would like to work on is making sneakers for virtual reality. So there's some accelerometer sneakers made by Nike. Kind of have some ideas to use those to walk through a world.
Eventually you'll run out of room. That's always the problem, right?
I mean, well, you
or you're just going to walk in place?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You could walk on a hamster ball.
That's
on rollers.
There's actually these stairs at my gym that go up and up and up. Not like a Stairmaster, but an actual stairs.
Like an escalator?
Kind of, yes. And I was thinking that would be cool.
Well, they had that in Ready Player One where they had roller balls that would go in any direction so that when you were in VR, you could actually move.
Right.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll work just as well as all the other. I'm getting depressed.
It's coming. It's just
5 years. 5 years. Everything's 5 years away.
Well, there is that one product called Milo. Oh, I forgot what it's called. It is something like a treadmill, a slippy treadmill. You wear slippy shoes and you walk inside of a container thing, and you walk in a VR world.
I'm sorry, I would totally have called it a hamster ball. Okay. Well, speaking of 5 years and maybe 15, what do you think you'll be designing in 15 years or in 5?
I don't know what I think is realistic. I would really like to have my own theme park.
Okay.
With all of these.
Sophi Land.
Right? Yeah, with all of these experiences and other people's experiences.
A virtual theme park or a real theme park?
No, a real theme park. I mean, maybe there would be virtual experiences in the theme park. But with all of these interaction projects, I think it would be really cool to have a park to put all of these things in.
Is this like a permanent maker fair? Because I'm ready for one of those.
Kind of, yeah.
You went to a little mini maker fair yesterday. What was that like?
So the difference that I can tell between mini and big is mini, it's all people making stuff, as opposed to the bigger ones that has a trade show sort of component.
So everybody who went was not only audience, they were also maker.
More like everyone exhibiting was a maker and not a company.
I think this shows that I haven't been to the maker fair in a year or two.
No, there's lots of big booths and stuff.
I guess so. There were.
The regular maker fair, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I did wander around the O'Reilly book booth and think, where's my book?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. But was it huge and crowded?
It wasn't. It was in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I think they said that there were 50-something exhibitors, and they had sold in advance about 350 tickets. So maybe there were 600 people there. So no, I was really crowded because the Oculus seems to...
I could see that.
Yeah, everybody wants to try the Oculus, but it wasn't insanely crowded. On both sides of me, though, I had quadcopters on one side, and this is a cool project. They had set up hoops to go through, like not basketball hoops, but hoops in the air. So you were flying the quadcopters through the hoops, and I thought that was awesome, and should have had fire, but anyway, that was pretty cool. Next version.
The hoops should have had fire.
The hoops should have had fire.
That's pretty cool. And
and on the other side of me was a local model airplane club. So I was surrounded by flying things, which was awesome.
That's something else I want to do with VR is put it on a plane, an RC plane.
You want to become a little bug, a dragonfly?
No, but first person.
Do you fly?
I used to. Well, little radio control planes, not real planes, but I kind of got excited about the first person camera-based stuff that people have started doing with.
Yeah.
Now they want to call them drones, but they're just RC planes.
Yeah, I think that stuff's pretty cool too. My husband is nuts for flying remote control helicopters and building them and so on. So
yeah, I always stay away from helicopters. That seemed too hard.
Well, I don't think he knows any different. That's the flying thing that he uses.
So you've also been to the Big Bay Area Maker Fair, and to the New York Maker Faire, as well as this mini and probably a number of other mini ones.
Nope, that's it. That was my first mini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is the difference? I mean, is the Bay Area one and New York, are they pretty similar because they're put on by the same people, or are they just so vastly different in tone?
Oh, I think they're really different in tone. And I would also say that if you're there as an exhibitor, I've only been an exhibitor at those two. It's depending on the exhibit you have, it's a different experience. The first time I was out in Bay Area was my first Maker Faire, and I had radiation detectors, these art projects made with radiation detectors. And I met so many radiation specialists and scientists that work in radiation. And so that was a different experience than exhibiting an Oculus project in New York, where it was a whole line of consumers.
Yes, those would be two totally different audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you swapped them, you might get the same experience. I mean, putting an Oculus Rift out here, people will still line up for it.
Right. And if people who are lining up for it, just because of, statistically, most people they want to play with it. They don't want to develop it for it. So in New York, I had an interesting experience where I was pretty much only talking to people who were not makers at all in any way, not coders, not makers, not only interested in where can I buy this game. So at the Mini Maker Faire, this time I kind of headed all of that off before anyone even put the thing on. I started talking about how you could code for it and how it works and, all that kind of stuff to try to make people understand that it isn't something you just buy. Or the thing that we made, me and the team that I worked with, we didn't just buy it.
Yeah.
It's so strange that the Maker Faire has become that kind of audience in the big ones. The earlier ones, it didn't seem that way, but
They used to go to Sharper Image. Now you just go to the Maker Faire.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
I think my husband's head had just exploded.
No.
I remember Sharper Image. I loved that store. That was the best.
It's where bad gadget ideas go to die.
Oh, I was crazy about that store. I used to go there a lot.
That and Brookstone.
And
Brookstone still exists.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, that and then You Don't Fly, but I should have brought you the in-flight magazine when I went to Vegas because
Why would that exist?
that was. Remember, I sent you the picture of the submarine coming out of the water, and it was a whole magazine or a whole catalog full of interesting gadgets.
You mean the SkyMall?
The SkyMall.
Is it because people are oxygen deprived in airplanes, therefore they're not?
I don't
going
know.
to exercise
Southwest was
good
giving out
judgment and
free
purchase?
drinks, so it all looked pretty good.
The SkyMall is pretty cool. And it's actually pretty easy to get your thing in the SkyMall. Just, in case any listeners have interest
I have
in
so
doing
many
that.
ideas that follow that now. Like, just how easy is it?
It's pretty easy. You send them an email and they send you something back.
No, I want to.
The only thing that is not so great is that they don't manufacture for you.
Well, that's
So they're basically like Amazon.
still.
You could, oxygen
You could
deprived.
take advantage of thousands of
Right.
impaired customers.
Yeah, I can't remember what the percentage is, but it's pretty high also, higher than Amazon.
Well, yeah, because it's a very niche market.
Yes.
Okay.
So I contacted them about a product I had, and they were pretty quick to respond and discuss. And the thing about the manufacturing, that they don't do that or help with that or any of that, was, for me, it wasn't going to work out.
How to advertise your products in SkyMall. That will be in the show notes. for those of you who have these ideas and really want to act on them. Christopher, I think I'm about out of questions. Do you have anything left to ask?
I'm sure we could rant about the missed promise of various technology products, but we've probably done them all to death.
Yeah, it's Christopher's snack time. Sophie, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think I'm good.
Well, you're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you. That was pretty fun.
Good. Thank you very much for chatting with us.
Thanks, Sophie.
All right. Have a good night.
My guest has been Sophi Kravitz, owner, operator, engineer at Mix Engineering, and author of the Quit Your Day Job blog series. Thank you to Christopher as well for producing and co-hosting. And thank you all for listening. If you'd like to say hello, email us, show@embedded.fm, or hit the contact link on embedded.fm. And we do need iTunes reviews, or just those stars. As many stars as you can give us would be lovely. Please, it helps. Thanks. One final thought for you. And this one from a man I think we all kind of have a little crush on.
What?
Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla Motors and SpaceX, had something important to say. And he said, if something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it. Oh, come on, you totally have a crush on him.
Bye.
Bye.